Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, I'm going to watch this video totally blind. I have no idea even what it's about. But I thought it might be kind of interesting because, I don't know, she calls it FaceTime with fats. And I think it's really weird to talk about yourself as a fat. I'm a fat. So I don't know. I'm currently on the edge of fatness. So let's do it. You know, we're almost done. I'm breaking up with it. So gotta just experience it. Gotta have my Selena Gomez single soon moment because I'm breaking up with being fat as I am steadily and going towards mid-sized queen territory. So let's see what we got. Let's just visit it. One of our last runs. Let's go. According to fat acceptance, I'll just forget everything the second I'm not fat anymore, and I will never be able to talk about this again because I won't be fat. So, because people can't actually lose weight. So, you know, all the things. All the things. All the things.
Fats, a series where I, a fat, talk about things that only plus-size people will understand. I just went to the gym, and while I was there, I was finally able to verbally articulate a feeling that I have felt in spaces just with other humans around in general, especially ones that include movement, for the first time in my life. So today was a lifting day. I was doing some deadlifts, and I noticed myself being very on edge in the sense where I felt myself building up a wall around me emotionally. And my eyes were on other people like a hawk, making sure they weren't looking at me. And that if they were, I would be on the defense already, being like, you can't touch me. I already see you, sort of thing. And I had to stop myself, and I was like...
It's called paranoia. That's paranoia. There's actually a word for that. So, I don't know. It's not mutually exclusive to being fat, but I have described, and I sometimes get shit for describing certain conditions medically, hypothyroidism, cough, 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 that when severe affect the brain, one of the symptoms being paranoia because it makes you really, 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 really anxious. However, there are also other mental health issues that can lead to paranoia. So be aware of that. Okay? So it might not be that. It might not be that exclusively. But it could be involved when you're talking about being super morbidly obese. It's called paranoia.
What are we doing this for? Where is this coming from?
I just kind of shine some light on that. I hope that answered your question.
Because not a single soul was looking at me. Not one. Everyone was minding their own business. Which is honestly why I like the gym that I go to, because everyone truly does mind their own goddamn business. And I had to be so gentle with myself in that moment because I was like, Deanna, you have been subjected to stares, to laughs, to mockery of your body, and if not your body, the body of someone else who looks similar to you for your entire fucking life.
If it's not even about you, then it's still about you because it's somebody else's body that looks like yours, quote unquote. I mean, if we're judging the world based on that standard, it's... I'm just saying, like, you're setting yourself up to be completely... I don't know the right word. Setting yourself up for absolute doom. You know, I'm not exactly a glass half full person myself, but when I feel like I'm made to be that because somebody else is so incredibly negative, that blows my mind. But here's some advice for you. Think about all the times you weren't laughed at. Think about all the times you weren't stared at. Think about all the times that people didn't care at all, which I bet you is innumerably more than these moments that you're fishing for, looking for for whatever reason, you know, again, we're getting into toxic ritualistic territory. Why are you obsessing over these experiences? Have you ever been made fun of, laughed at, stared at for things that don't have to do with your body size? Do you focus on those so much? Why or why not? Why don't you? You typically don't. Because it's only the size, right? That's the only thing that matters, right? You see how that's a problem? It's not reality. I am not going to get on here and make a list of all the things that I've been made fun of for. But let me just say, many of them do not have to do with body size, period. Not all of them are even nasty. Like, I'm talking about just what friends have roasted me for and stuff. Like, for example, I was playing Cards Against Humanity around Christmas 2018. I don't know why I remember it. I guess because it was like this graphic of a graphically, Alex. It was a very graphic Cards Against Humanity game, but I was a little tipsy and we were all like, it was just a lot. Okay, it was kind of like shady Cards Against Humanity. But one of the ones was hilarious because I went to Australia in 2015 and I'm very basic in a lot of ways. And I was very much like one of those girly pops that's like, I went out of the country and it changed my life and like blah, blah, blah. Like, and I had talked about it for like years. And it was like somebody got that card that was like, talks about going somewhere else, you know, talks about going to a different country for years. And then they all made fun of me for it. And then I got made fun of because I complained about my job all the time. And it was like, hates their job but refuses to quit. Boom. And they're like slamming the cards down, you know, like, and I just realized after that night that I was extremely basic in a lot of ways. And all these cards were like, I don't know, like written for a basic bitch like myself, basically. But it's like, I was made fun of for that stuff. I made fun of sometimes for being a basic bitch. You know, I've been made fun of a lot for being a Swiftie. I've been made fun of a lot for, you know, things that are just not even like that serious. So it's like, try to think about stuff that you even joke about with friends that's like being made fun of or roasted. And it makes it less serious because the whole thing with this is that you're making it all about that. And that's not okay. Because, again, it can be dangerous. It can start to affect eating behaviors. So don't do that. It's not a good thing. It can also, you know, if you have lost weight and you're like really, really obsessing over that, it can trigger a relapse if you are that obsessed over it. Like, even for me, I have to be a little careful with it sometimes. Especially when I have like massive fluctuations like I have this winter, I have to be careful with it because I don't have the E followed by the letter D anymore, but I can still experience body dysmorphic episodes that can be disturbing and at times a little bit triggering. So I have to still kind of be a little careful about that, but I'm aware of that and I don't feed into it. And I'm very mindful of that and I don't obsess or do that kind of stuff, you know? So it's kind of like I remind myself constantly to deprioritize it or to remember that we're a whole person because it keeps me grounded as I continue to lose weight and as I continue on this journey. And I would suggest that for anybody, wherever you're at, if you're not even losing weight yet, or gaining in some cases, if you're already at a normalized weight and you're worried about relapse, don't obsess over it. Either, you know, it's like, especially while you're actively losing, you have to be kind of careful, or actively normalizing body weight. That's a tricky point. So the point is, all that to say, do not sit there and obsess over Oh, the stares you've gotten. You don't even necessarily know if somebody's staring at you because you're fat. It could be for a different reason. Like, especially if you're projecting into it. Again, it's all a part of that running commentary and that narrative that you're adding into your head. And it's just not good. It's just bad. It's bad. You're using it as a distraction from other issues. That's all.
Of course it makes sense when you're doing something that, especially for someone in a larger body, can be very vulnerable, such as going to the gym, that you're gonna be on guard, fight or flight, trying to protect yourself, even when in the moment.
So, with this, I will say, I don't know how true it is anymore, but for a while, there was this idea in society, or at least in America again. I only can speak to like an American experience for the most part, but there was this idea that it's that fat people can't move, or it's not possible for fat people to exercise, or like it was very like anomaly. It's like an anomaly to see a fat person exercising, and people would have this weird reaction to it. And people that are very big, as I stated, there's physical health issues and at times mental health issues, which is kind of, she's kind of describing a little bit of both there. But, like, for example, within hypothyroidism, there's anxiety. You can have anxiety for literally no reason whatsoever, and other than the hypothyroidism. So it's like if you're anxious already, you're going to the gym, you're anxious, you are oftentimes thinking of, why am I anxious? Why am I anxious? So there's this process where you feel a physical anxiety and you look for why you are like you try to create a mental reason for why you are. So that could be happening too. And the thing is, it could be either or, it could be both. You can see how they fit together like a glove. And that's why it's so difficult to get out of supermorbid obesity for a lot of people that especially have these comorbidities, because they fit and feed into each other really easily. Because that's, you know, why she feels so vulnerable going to the gym. It's like there's this very, very light cultural taboo over a fat person going to the gym, which again, it has kind of left the building. I don't think it's as true now. But I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago. It was very true. But that little tiny, oh, you're a fat person working out, that little bit is enough to trigger somebody who's already very anxious. And it can create that sense of like fight or flight. Like when I was super morbidly obese, I was similar. I would go to the gym very late because I didn't want people to see me doing it. Because it felt very awkward to me. Because it's just very, it's very hard at times. You know, it's kind of an awkward, you're usually awkward size or awkward shape. You don't always know what you're doing. Like you already are typically a newbie anyways. So it's like you're not confident anyways. Like there's a lot of factors that go into it that make it difficult, even just without any pathological basis, just the actual size itself. So I understand what she's saying, but it's like with anything in life, you just show up and you just do it. Do you think it's easy? You know, I'm an introverted girly pop. Do you think it was always easy for me to film, post stuff online and hear feedback, or sometimes negative, sometimes positive? You know, like obviously most of the time it's positive at this point, but there have been times in my online journey where it's been very negative, you know? And it's like, you think that that's easy? No, it's not. But you show up and you do it anyways. And there's something, you know, I've been thinking a lot about my generation, and it's kind of like, I've been calling it mid-lennial. This is giving mid-lennial. If something is difficult, you just show up and you just keep going. Like there's this idea that in millennial brains, which I don't even know if she is a millennial, I'm guessing she is though, because she's like this, where it's like something's difficult, so I should give up. I don't show up and I'm not immediately recognized or established in something, so I should just leave and just say forget it. It's like, gosh, people, like, you know, come on, like we can do better than this. Like I go to the gym very often. I'm established. I'm recognized. I've been recognized for losing weight and stuff. And I know that that's important to a lot of people in my generation, but it's like you only get that kind of recognition by actually showing up and doing things, even when it's hard, even when there isn't a benefit right away. It's like, it's frustrating. It's just frustrating. But I feel like a lot of those issues are going to come up for me this year because I'm going into this very like mediocre mid body zone, which I think there are certain triggers with that, which I'll definitely explore as we go into my next era, but it's things that I'm thinking about. I'm always cooking, so I will talk about that later. But anyways, let's continue.
There isn't really a threat. And once again, these boys, the people around me, they were not doing a thing. They were just working out. And so all this to say, this was a wonderful reminder for me that while, yes, it is important to have a sense of self that keeps you safe and secure from genuine, real fatphobic threats, it's also equally as important to recognize that you have been through so much already. And if you are still fat, that you probably continue to go through things like this at one point or another, and that in the long run, you're not doing yourself any favors by sitting and stewing in that place of hypervigilance. And I'll be the first one to say that is so much easier said than done, because look what I just told you. It happened to me today. Not to mention other factors that play into trauma and whatnot. There's a lot of nuance that can't be discussed right here in one little TikTok. But you are so worthy of being able to let your guard down. You are worthy of moving through the world with ease. And you are worthy of peace. Just as you are. Welcome to FaceTime for the Fats, a series where I, a fat...
Okay, so I don't know. I think that she's too obsessed with the trauma. Like you can obsess over that too. Like the trauma of being fat. I don't think that's healthy either. Because when you're trying to lose weight or when you're trying to actually face this, like let's say you're super morbidly obese, you're trying to lose the weight and get out. I always have described it on this channel. I know it's super gay, but I describe it as you have to do a whole ass Eras tour to get out of it. It's difficult. There are off seasons, on seasons. There is, a time when you have to run across the stage because you're doing August, and then there's times where you have to lay down on the top of the roof because you're tired. No, I'm just kidding. Because you're changing a set list because you broke up with somebody. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, I'm totally kidding. Sorry, that's kind of gay Swiftie lore for anybody who knows that. But the point is, you have to do a lot of stuff. You have to plan it. You have to calculate decisions. You have to execute and do it. And honestly, it's very, very practical. Like, I don't even think you should focus on the mental side all that much when you're super morbidly obese. You can deal with that in the tortured Mo phase as you're coming down, because you don't really have the bandwidth to do all of that at the same time. It's like, just get out of super morbid obesity. Don't think about the trauma and all this stuff. Like, just de-emotionalize it. Start a procedure to get out of that state, because it's very, very difficult. And just know it will get easier when you get out of that state. That I can tell you. And then you can deal with this other stuff. Because to sit here and be stewing about trauma and this and that when you're at the gym and you're trying to lose, like, it's just too much. Because it's already enough effort just to go and try not to be embarrassed, or to push past a feeling of being embarrassed and just go and do it anyways. That's enough effort. Don't think about 15 years of people staring at you and all this crap while you're trying to go to the gym. It's not helpful. It isn't helpful. So I would definitely suggest to do that mental stuff a bit later, because it's really like procedural to get out of super morbid obesity. I always describe it as a metronome. Think of it as this time hits, so I do this. This time hits, so I do this. And you do it day by day. You're whittling it down day by day, year over year in many cases, especially if you have complex hormone issues. So you have to just be very physical, extremely physical in super morbid obesity, because it's too hard to do all of it at once. It just is. And we're only human. That's my suggestion. Obviously, if you can do it all, then you're amazing. But for me, I had to work. I had to, do all this stuff. I was struggling. I was very, very, very poor at the time. I was really struggling while I was super morbidly obese, and I was trying to do everything at once. So there was just no way. There was no way in hell I would have been able to get out of it had I been thinking about all this tortured stuff while I was getting out of super morbid obesity, with the way that my schedule was and how difficult it was. So it's like, if you do have time to sit around and think about things, then maybe you can do it at the same time. But honestly, I wouldn't really suggest it. I just wouldn't, because it's hard. It's very, very hard. And there are times where there is a good time to think about it, which I think is in the morbid phase. That's when I did it, and I think that was the right time, because it's when things start to actually change for you, and you can start to step out of these mental matrices in real life and like have some touch the grass experiences, like when I got on a plane, for example, and there wasn't a problem. That was very difficult mentally for me. So it's like, there's so much work with this, especially if you've been so big for such a long time and so many things are ingrained. There's a lot of work with it, but you have to just understand you can get out. But I would suggest doing the mental work a bit later, because honestly, in the beginning, when you're super morbidly obese, it's physical work. It's hard. It's just physical work, brute physical work. Get a very strong routine, stick to your routine, and get out. That's my advice. So that's how I got out. I will talk to you guys later. I hope that this was helpful. And I will see you guys another day. Peace.